alpha particle scattering experiment. To read this experiment, so we have some practical setup, experimental setup. So initially we will consider an alpha particle. So we will discuss at the end what will be the alpha particle. So here we are considering one alpha particle. So whenever we consider one particle, so it will radiates energy in all directions. It radiates energy in all directions. The released energy will be in the range of 5 mega electron volt to 7.7 mega electron volt. So this is a strength of the energy. That's a range of alpha particle. So initially we will consider one alpha particle, and we stated that it will radiate energy with a range of 5 mega electron volt to 7.7 mega electron volt in all directions. But for this practical setup we need only a unidirection. To whatever the energy we releasing from the alpha particle, we have to collimate, we have to make in a straight line, in a single beam. So for that we are using a lead bricks. So lead bricks is nothing but which is used to stop the radiated energy. So whatever the alpha particle, we consider this as a source. We have placed this source in a lead brick. So it was radiated energy in all directions, but due to this lead, it will stop the remaining, it will allows only a particular direction. And we are considering some more lead bricks to make all alpha particles collimate in a thin beam, single thin beam. So we are considering some more lead bricks here. Okay, so whatever the energy, now what is the work of lead bricks means it collimates the energy of alpha particles in a thin single beam. So whatever the energy radiated from this alpha particle, it will be moves in a single beam. In the other end, we are considering one gold foil, one metal. We are considering one gold foil. The thickness of this gold foil we will consider as 10 to the power of minus 6 meters to 10 to the power of minus 8 meters. So we have a chance of it can be split, it can be stretched more, it has a more elasticity. So whenever we consider the gold foil with the range of 10 to the power of minus 6 meters to 10 to the power of minus 8 meters, so that it has a single layer. So we don't have a chance of another layer for this gold. Okay, next. And we are considering a circular path around the gold foil, which was coated with zinc sulfate. It acts like a screen. It's a zinc sulfate, it acts like a screen. Okay, next, whenever we are releasing some millions of alpha particles from the source with the energy of 5 mega electron volt to 7.7 mega electron volt in a single layer through a gold foil. Here already we know the atomic number of gold is 79. So whenever we are releasing some energy from the gold foil, so it will move and it will strike some point in the zinc sulfide. Whenever this energy, this ray is struck to the zinc sulfide screen, there we get some flashlight. There we get some sparkle. But these flashlight we cannot detect through your naked eyes. So for that, to detect these flashlights, we will use a detector called rotating microscope. So we are using a device called rotating microscope. So whenever we are releasing some energy, either it will move in a straight line or it will be deviates and strikes at any point. So whenever it strikes, it gives us some flashlight. But this flashlight we cannot observe through our naked eyes. So to detect those flashlights, we are using a detector called rotating microscope. With the help of microscope, we can detect how many strikes we have, how many we have flashlights. Okay. Now, coming to the concept. So we have some observations. We have some observation according to this concept. Here already we said gold foil, it has a range of 10 to the power of 6 meters to 10 to the power of minus 8 meters. It has a single layer, and we will consider most of the part of this atom will be empty, or we consider this as a hollow. So empty or hollow means whenever we are releasing some millions of alpha particles, here the gold foil which is in empty state. So all the alpha particles will move through a gold foil and strikes at the same point. That's a whenever we consider 100% of alpha particles we release, in that 99.86% of alpha particles are undeviated. So which means which was moving in a straight line. So there is no deviation. So approximately we get the 100% result. But the remaining, so 100%, in that we have a 99.86% of alpha particles are undeviated, which was moving in a straight line. So we have a remaining 0.14%. What happened to this? What happened to this means whenever we are releasing the alpha particle, most of the particles will move in a straight line. So they are undeviated. They have no scattering. But remaining 0.14%, what happens to this means they are deviated. They are deviated if the scattering angle theta is more than 1 degree. And sorry, here I did not mention the scattering angle. So here whenever we are releasing some energy, alpha particles with some energy which was moving in a straight line, but in some points they will deviates in and strikes somewhere. Generally 100%, in 99.86% they are moving in a straight line, but they have a chance of 0.1, they are deviated. So there we have a scattering angle. That's the angle between the straight line and deviated point is called as a scattering angle, which denotes with theta. Now, so 0.14% are deviated if the scattering angle is more than 1 degree. So it's the second point. And third point. So generally here we are sending some millions of alpha particles we are releasing with some energy. But if you consider on an average, 1 in 8,000 alpha particles. 1 in 8,000. Suppose we are sending millions. In that we are considering for every 8,000 alpha particles, 1 alpha particle is deviated. So in 1 in 8,000 alpha particles, deviates with an angle which is more than 90 degrees. So whenever we are moving in a straight line means this will be a, whenever we are moving in a straight line means this will be a straight line. The angle will be equals to 0. So 90 degrees means we will consider this as a 90 degrees. And 1 in 8,000 alpha particles deviates with an angle which is more than 90 degrees. So they will be deviated this side, or we consider in the upward direction. This will be the third point. And if you consider last point, fourth point, here we consider in third point for every 8,000 alpha particles. In the same way, 1 in 10 lakhs. 1 in 10 lakhs means again we are considering on an average of for every 10 lakhs alpha particles, deviates with an angle of 180 degrees. So it means the object was moving in a straight line with an angle of 0. Again it will be retrieved back. So simply it returns back. Simple. Here we have an alpha particle scattering experiment. We have an experimental setup. Initially we consider alpha particles. So whenever we consider alpha particles, it has an energy of 5 mega electron volts to 7.7 mega electron volts. Whenever we consider alpha particle, it will radiate energy in all directions. But for this experiment, we need only a single direction. So we have to stop the remaining radiated energy. For that, we are using a lead bricks. The main concept of lead bricks is collimates the energy of alpha particles in a thin beam, a thin single beam. So whenever we place these lead bricks, the alpha particle moves in a straight line. And at other end, we are considering the gold foil. It has an atomic number of 79, and the thickness of this alpha particle, a gold foil is 10 to the power of minus 6 meters to 10 to the power of minus 8 meters, and we are placing is a single layer. Around the gold foil, we are considering a circular. We are considering a circular path. Circular path with a zinc sulfide screen. Whenever we are releasing some energy, it will strikes to the zinc sulfide screen. Whenever it strikes the zinc sulfide screen, we get the flashlights. So these flashlights we cannot detect directly through our naked eyes. For that, we are using a detector called rotating microscope. By using this rotating microscope, we can detect how many strikes we get the end. And here we have observations. Initially, we are considering gold foil, that's an atom, is an empty or hollow. That's an observation 100% in that 99.86% of alpha particles are undeviated, which was moving in a straight line. But the remaining 0.14% deviated if the scattering angle theta is more than 1, and 1 in 8000 alpha particles deviates with an angle which is more than 90 degrees, and 1 in 10 lakhs alpha particles deviates with an angle of 180 degrees, which was moving in a straight. Again it will becomes back. But so generally whenever we consider hollow, so there is a no objection. So all the particles moves in a straight line, but the remaining 0.14% are deviated. Why it was deviated? Why for every 8000? Why for every 10 lakhs? So whenever we have a deviation, so deviation means to change its direction. Why it was changing direction means, first of all we have to know the alpha. Alpha particles mean, to define the alpha particle, suppose if you consider helium plus plus. So helium plus plus is nothing but helium ka nucleus. Helium ka nucleus, it has a charge of, so what will be the charge of alpha particle of He plus plus means plus, it defines itself, so we get plus. How many plus we have? 2. So we have a 2. Similarly, what about its mass means, it will be a 4 AMU. So why we have a 4 AMU means, there we have a 2 protons and 2 neutrons. The net value will become a 4. So we get the 4 AMU. So here 0.14% was deviated. So generally why it was deviating? Whenever we have a positive, there is a no charge, it was moving in a straight line. Here we have a one positive charge. Suppose if you have a positive charge here, automatically the object will move in a straight line. Whenever it reaches the positive will be repelled, the object will be deviated. So it means at the center, in some cases, they have some positive charges, so that it will be a deviated. Suppose the same concept, if you want to represent in a graph, the same whatever we observe now. So if you want to represent in a graph, so we want to represent the graph, we have to take x-axis, y-axis. The alpha particle scattering, we need a graph between scattering angle versus number of alpha particles. So we have to represent the graph between these two. Already we stated alpha particles we release with the some millions. So for this we consider in y-axis. In y-axis we will consider the number of alpha particles. In x-axis scattering angle, which denotes with theta, and y-axis number of alpha particles. Here we will define the alpha particles, we start from some millions. So value we consider this is a 10 to the power of 7, 10 to the power of 6, 10 to the power of 5, and so on up to 0. Similarly for scattering angle, we will define for 180 degrees. So 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So value will be for 20, 40, 60, 80, so on. So we get a 180 degrees. Okay. What will be the graph? So already we stated the first point. Most of the alpha particles are undeviated. That's a 99.86% was undeviated. So at initial condition only, it's not a value of 100%. So maximum value is deviated. That's undeviated. And second point, 0.14% is undeviated. Simply at last condition. So 1 in 10 to the power 6, that's a 10 lakhs. 1 in 10 lakhs retrieves for 180 degrees. So for 0, the value will be a maximum. For 180, we get only a 1. So we have some rough graph like this. So we consider first value and last value. We get the graphical presentation. Now, already we did the alpha particle scattering experiment. So we have some observations from Rutherford. So what are those observations? So Rutherford nuclear model of atom. So conclusions from alpha particle scattering experiment. So what are the conclusions? So here most part of the atom is empty. So already we stated the gold foil, which is a mostly empty, that's we consider as a hollow. So due to this hollow, so whenever we have an atom which is in hollow state, reason 99.86% of alpha particle passes undeviated, because whatever the metal we considered, so this metal most of the part is empty, so that whatever we sended the alpha particles, those alpha particles without having any deviation they are moving in a straight line. And second, there is some positive charge inside the atom, and we have stated some part some part of the atom is empty space, but there is some positive charges. Because of those positive charges, there is some positive charges inside the atom in very small space. So most of the empty, there we have some positive charge. Due to those positive charges, already we stated alpha particle is a positive, and we have some positive charges. Though positive will be repelled. So due to those repulsions, 0.14% of alpha particles deviated by the more than 1 degree. This is clear. And third point, the positive charge inside the atom is concentrated to an extremely small space called nucleus. So already we stated in second reason there is some positive charges. Those positive charges will be placed at the center. All positive charges together and placed at the center, and which is have a more density. So due to those density, whatever the positive charge we get, it reaches to that point, again it was deviated. That's the positive charges inside the atom is concentrated to an extremely small space called nucleus. Reason 1 in 10,000, because we consider the small space. Only at the center we have a small space, that is 1 in 10 lakhs alpha particles deviated by 180. So because of that, so here we have some screen, and center we have some positive charge. So whenever we are releasing these alpha particles, which was moving normally, it will move in a straight line according to the first point. So most of the particles move in a straight line, but some particles we have, whenever it reaches to this point, automatically they are deviated. And some points we have whenever it reaches to this positive charge, again it will be reduced, because positive will be repelled. At this small point, whatever the charge are inside atom is concentrated in an extremely small space. We call this as a nucleus. And here we have some 2 points. The size of the nucleus we have a 10 to the power of minus 15 meters, and the size of the atom is 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. And last, the number of, so generally we have sended some particles for different scattering angles. We have the theta may be a 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, 180. We have a different angles. So we have to calculate for what angle that how many particles will be scattered. So for the number of alpha particles, the number of alpha particles scattered at a particular angle theta, this is different for different foils. Whenever we are using a different foils, like initially we stated here gold, we can use the different materials like uranium, or we have some other material. So depending upon the material, the scattering angle will be a different, and approximate the number of alpha particles deviated at an angle. So we have to calculate how many alpha particles are scattered for different angles. For that we have a formula, n is equal to k z square divided by sine power of 4 theta by 2, where n will be the number of number of alpha particles, k will be a constant, z will be an atomic number. So whenever we are using a gold, it will be a 79. If it is a uranium, it will be a 92. So we have a atomic number of the foil used, and theta, it's an angle. And note down these points, and it will be important for your further classes. So already we look at some observations like a conclusions of Rutherford. At the end we have one formula. So to calculate the number of particles, alpha particles scattered for different angles. Here we have a numerical, the first numerical. So question is, if 1000 alpha particles are scattered at 60 degrees, for 60 degrees angle they are scattered 1000 alpha particles. Find the number of alpha particles deviated by 90 degrees. So here we have a question, and we have options 2000, 4000, 5000 and 250. And we have a formula for calculating the number of alpha particles. So we have n is equals to k z divided by sine power of 4 theta by 2. So here we have a formula. And try this question. Calculate a number of alpha particles deviated at 90 degrees. Sorry, it will be a z square. Okay, this is a question we have to calculate for 90 degrees. First, here we have a given data. So what is a given data? For the given n is equals to 1000 alpha particles, scattering angle will be 60 degrees. So we are substituting the values. 1000 is equals to k, they did not mention the constant and they did not mention any atomic number, so we can say directly z square divided by sine power of theta value is 60. 60 divided by 2. And second one, represent this as the equation 1. And equation 2, find the number of alpha particles. For second one, they did not mention the value of n. Let us consider it has an x. X is equals to k into z square divided by sine power of 4. The angle will be 90 degrees. 90 divided by 2. It's equation 2. Now, the equation 2 divided by equation 1. And here we already know sine thetas. So for sine 0, sine 30, sine 45, sine 60 and sine 90. Sine 0 is equals to 0, 1 by 2, 1 by root 2, root 3 by 2 and 1. So dividing equation 2 by 1. So we get 2x divided by 1000 is equals to k z square divided by sine power of 4, 92 means 45. Sine power of 4, 45 divided by second equation, that's the first equation, sine z, k z square divided by sine power of 4, 60 by 20, we get 30. So here we get z square will be cancelled, k will be cancelled. So we get the value x by 1000 is equals to, we will consider as a reciprocal, sine power of 4, 30 divided by sine power of 4 45. Okay, so which implies x by 1000 is equals to, so sin 30 value, we know the value of 1 by 2, so we can write 1 by 2 with the power of 4, so 1 by 2 into 1 by 2 into 1 by 2 into 1 by 2, so we have a power of 4, so divided by sin 45 will be equals to 1 by root 2, so 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2. Now what will be the calculation? X is equals to, so 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2 we get 1 by 2. So 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2 we cancel 1 by 2. Again 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2 we will get the cancellation of one more 1 by 2. So we get 1 x is equals to, which implies x is equals to, here we have a 1000 divided by 2 to 4, which implies the value of x is equals to 250. The option will be D. Note down these points. So already we defined some conclusions of your Rutherford alpha scattering practical experiment, and here we have some more conclusions. The electrons are attracted by positive nucleus. Okay, so generally we stated the central point, we have a positive nucleus. Whatever the electrons, it will be revolves in a circular path. So already we know about atom. Atom, in that we have three terms: neutrons, protons, electrons. Neutrons, protons are placed center of the nucleus, which is a positive charge. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus, which is a negative charge. According to a concept, positive charge always attracts negative charge. So there is an attraction. At the center, we have a high density of positive charge, and the electron has a normal charge. That's a 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. So whenever these electrons revolving around the nucleus, they have a chance of attraction. So positive and negative will attract. So whenever there is an attraction, they have to move towards the nucleus. But the electrons are attracted by the positive nucleus, but electrons does not move towards the nucleus. Why it was not moving towards the nucleus? You got my question? So whenever there is a positive charge, negative charge, there is an attraction. So here we have a positive charge, the electrons revolving in a circular orbit. The negative charge will attract positive. So it has to move towards the positive, but it was not moving. And for to define these terms, so consider we have a sun. Around the sun, Earth revolving in a circular orbit, or we have an elliptical orbit. At the end, they stated it was an elliptical orbit. The Earth moving in a particular orbit, but according to the concept of gravitational force, there is a force of attraction between two masses, but even though it was not attracted. Similarly, if you consider Earth, around the Earth we have a moon which was moving in a circular orbit, but the moon is also not attracted towards the Earth, because whenever the electron was moving around the nucleus, it has some velocity. So already we know. So there is a tangential force. So it means it has a particular velocity in particular direction. So we have a velocity in particular direction. Okay. So due to this velocity, it generates some force called centripetal. So generates some force called centripetal, and the between one positive charge, negative charge, there acts like a Coulomb's law. There we get the electrostatic. So both will be equal strength. So why it was not moving means the negative charge moving with some velocity will generate some centripetal force. And between nucleus and positive charge, it generates some electrostatic force. These both will be having equal strength. That's the force of centripetal force is equal to force of electrostatic. So both are equal. So due to this reason, it utilizes these forces as a centripetal force. So whatever the velocity which was moving, it acts like a centripetal force and revolving in any circular orbit around the nucleus. And note down this point. Rutherford did mistake here itself. He said it utilizes these forces and revolves in any circular orbit around the nucleus. So this is Rutherford drawback. He mentioned that whenever it was releasing some energy, the object will be moved in different orbit. He did not mention the stability. He did not mention the stability. To define the drawback, we get the concept of Bohr. Okay, so we will consider next. Here we get the expression Fc is equal to Fs, that's centripetal force is equals to electrostatic force. What is the formula for electrostatic? Centripetal force means mv square by r is equals to force between the nucleus and atom. Atom will be any metal. So we can consider this as a formula K. So what will be the formula for electrostatic force means? Force is equals to K Q1 Q2 by R square. So force is equals to Q1. One will be the atomic number Z, other will be an electron E by R square. ZE by R square. So we get R square, R will be cancelled. So what will be the R value? R is equals to K into ZE square divided by M into V square. This will be the formula for R. And already we know the value of K constant. We said that the value will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. We get the R is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Z E square by M V square. This is the final point. Okay.